The message from my personal story that I would like to share is that I've been through so much, but the main reason that I've been able to get through it is because of Mount Sinai. They have done so much for me that honestly, the list can go on forever. I'm Lauren. I'm 13 years old. I am in the 8th grade at St. Clair School, and I live with my 17-year-old brother Matthew, and my mom and my dad, and my very adorable puppy Gracie, and our very cute bunny Hopscotch. I love to sing. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love to play piano, and I love doing musical theater. When I'm struggling with things, I listen to music, and it always brings a smile to my face, so it's something that's very special and very comforting for me. There's always a song for everything.
Her case is quite complex, and it has required different medical teams. It's definitely not a simple, straightforward case by any means. I thought it would be great if all of us at Sinai, the medical team, nurses, child life, if we could all come together and try to create an experience for her that she's not going to be afraid anymore. She should look forward to these visits. And that meant a personal connection.
I did a play called Legally Blonde, and we have to jump rope through an entire section of the song.
Okay.
And we're jumping rope really fast.
It's not easy, that's the thing. It's not easy.
It's so important to be the patient and to be spoken to as the patient, even if you're a kid.
Are you having pain anywhere? Any bony type, deeper pain?
No.
Sometimes, I think in pediatrics, parents are very quick to jump in, right? You ask, why are you here? And the parent immediately starts talking. Hearing from a child first is really, really important, both to really get the story of how they feel and to make them feel important and involved in their own care.
Any of these findings that we saw with damage to the intestine should be healed by now. One of our jobs as a physician, I think, is to instill hope. Lauren was fortuitous in ending up at Mount Sinai because we have experts in bone metabolism, pediatric inflammatory bowel disease, and rheumatology to bring all those disciplines together, come up with the best care for Lauren, get her to be better, and get her to thrive.
We've been very, very blessed to have them in our lives, in Lauren's life. Without having Child Life Services, the whole experience could have just went completely different.
What lies at the heart of Child Life is transforming the child's experience at the hospital. There's so many different things that music can bring to the table. I love to songwrite with patients to help them just process whatever emotion that they're feeling, and it just allows for distraction, it allows for pain management, it allows for just a feeling of freedom, it allows for autonomy.
Because of them, in child life, I have been able to trust in the doctors, trust in the nurses, and know that what they're doing for me is only in my best interest.
I love that she's able to be a kid.
Wake up in the morning, gotta get ready to go. Feeling a little nervous, but I know that I'm a pro.
As far as the whole Mount Sinai team goes, thank you from the absolute bottom of my heart. I mean, I cannot even put into words what they have done.
I'm eternally always going to be grateful for giving Lauren her life back.
Knowing that I can do this, but I gotta face my fears.
about 1 o'clock in the morning, and the phone rang, and Anne sprang up in bed, and she said,
"That's it. That's the call. That's the call. That's the call." James went into my son's room. He was a senior in high school at the time.
He opens the door. He goes, "You're not going to school tomorrow, James." And I go, "It was the call, wasn't it?" He goes, "Yeah." And I look behind my father, and my mom's completely frightened. She's terrified. And I jumped out of bed ecstatic. I jumped out of bed completely ecstatic because I was like, wow, this is it. This is the time we've been waiting for. It's been 3.5 years, and the time has finally come.
it was finally time to get to do this transplant, and I was very calm because of the amount of trust I have in Mount Sinai.
I had no idea that I had this issue with my lungs. The thought never even crossed my mind that I could possibly be putting myself in any kind of danger.
He had a type of lung disease of fibrosis or scarring of the lungs, and it was thought at the time that part of his problem related to some exposure from the World Trade Center disaster.
The pulmonologist told me, "You have the lungs of an 85-year-old man that smokes 6 packs of cigarettes a day."
It's hard for lay people, it's hard for us, even as practitioners, to understand a patient who can't breathe. They're slowly suffocating. It's a horrible existence.
I watched him deteriorate to the point where he could barely get out of bed. It was so hard. It was so hard.
There's no question in my mind at the time James's situation was dire, and he needed a transplant very quickly.
He finally saw a potential end to his suffering. Finally, I'm at that stage now. There's light on the horizon that I can get better.
It was the day James came in for his transplant. He was the first one that we were doing at Mount Sinai. So there was already that excitement that, oh my gosh, we're gonna be doing our first transplant here.
I think it was 12 hours later they were getting me out of bed. And I got out and I walked, and I couldn't believe it.
When I took that first breath, it just felt like such a clean, new breath of life. In certain ways, it was my first breath of life. It was just, it tasted great. It was unbelievable.
This was a milestone for the Mount Sinai lung transplant program.
At Mount Sinai, the Department of Thoracic Surgery is a pretty unique department. We are the only freestanding Department of Thoracic Surgery in the country, but we were missing one key piece, and that was transplant. And now that has completed our department.
All the teams involved felt proud being part of such an innovation at Mount Sinai, being the front runners in advancing the field of lung disease and transplantation.
Our program is continuing to grow, and we hope and expect that our patients in the future will be able to have the same terrific outcomes and experience that those who've already had their lung transplants here have enjoyed to this date.
It's a huge endeavor to open up a transplant program from scratch. And James was our very first, and so that's something we'll never forget. The hospital will never forget. It's an honor to have taken care of him.
I thank you for giving him his life back. And with that, you gave James Patrick and myself our lives back.
When you're on your second chance, and you've gotten the second chance, it kind of puts a new light on everything that you do.
You guys are some of the best people to ever grace this earth. You've saved so many lives, and I'm so grateful that my father was one of them. Thank you.
He would always tell me, "Honey, we're gonna get through this together. We're gonna get through this together." And we did, 3 musketeers. Yippee, yappy, and yahooey.
My name is Sofia. I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Eastern Ukraine. I didn't believe it's gonna happen. Like, who even cares about my little city? But then war started and now my city is under occupation. So I was forced to leave the country to find a safe place and to find a place where I can continue living and making my life better.
Sophia's situation was pretty dire. The stress of the war and being a refugee also was putting stress on her. She was having chest pains, shortness of breath.
Все, что мы испытывали в первые дни войны, это был страх. Все, о чем мы думали, это как просто выжить и выехать из опасной зоны.
We simply were sitting in the basement all day, like 7 hours, 11 hours, 9 hours a day. And it wasn't enough food, and we needed to make a plan, and we knew that we need to make a surgery as soon as possible.
We have not many time.
She was safe from a physical standpoint from the war, but still needed an intervention for her heart. And we were able to provide that.
We were relieved and in complete disbelief that it's possible. It shows the help can come from most unexpected places.
Sophia was born with a condition called tetralogy of Fallot with pulmonary atresia. So what this means is that there was a big hole between the pumping chambers of the heart, but no way for the blood to get out of the heart to the lungs. At 2.5, she had what we call a complete repair. That tube doesn't grow over time. And so if you put that in a 2.5-year-old, it actually gets smaller with time. Sophia was scheduled to have that tube replaced surgically in Kyiv when war broke out. Based on Sophia's history, I wondered if she was somebody who we might be able to treat in a non-invasive fashion with a cardiac catheterization procedure rather than with the more invasive surgical option.
This surgery was more advanced in a way that this is something that cannot be done in Ukraine.
What makes this procedure that we did on Sophia so extraordinary is the fact that we could avoid the need for open heart surgery.
The next day, she was released from the hospital, and in a week, she was her old self again. It is truly life-changing what she had to go through here at Mount Sinai and what she came out with.
I'm so happy that we were able to benefit a child from outside of our own country and to do our little part in the middle of what is obviously a very serious and sad moment in world history, specifically the war in Ukraine.
It's very difficult to live in another place because you miss your hometown and you miss your old life, and especially when you realize you can't just bring it back except of building a new life in a new country. You need to be stronger, you need to be smarter.
Sophia's condition, being rare, is one of the things that Mount Sinai specializes in. We specialize in rare. We are able to look after patients that have the most complex and most difficult problems, and do so in large part because of the generosity of our donors.
You're helping people, you're making their life easier, and I'm very thankful to you.